Let's be honest, in today's world, everyone is obsessed with showing off. Scroll through any social media feed and you'll see people posting their breakfast, their new outfit, their gym progress, their perfect relationship, or even fake happiness just to prove something to others. But then there's a different kind of man, the one who doesn't post anything. No updates, no selfies, no look at me moments, just silence. And that silence, it confuses people. It makes some curious, some uncomfortable, and others even suspicious. Women, especially, notice this type of man. Because in a world where attention equals validation, a man who isn't seeking attention stands out. He's not trying to prove his worth through likes or comments. He's not competing for approval. And that quiet confidence, it creates a powerful mystery. A man who doesn't post gives off the vibe that he's got something more important going on, his life. His energy isn't scattered across screens. It's focused on reality. And whether people admit it or not, that's deeply attractive. But there's also a darker side to it, a reason why many people don't understand or even resent men like this. Society wants everyone to be seen, to be active, to show proof of their life. So when a man opts out, it unsettles the system. People project their own insecurities onto him. Is he hiding something? Is he antisocial? Is he too proud? But the truth is, many of these men simply don't need the world's validation. They're not absent. They're selective. They know that privacy is power. So in this video, we're going to uncover the dark truth about men who don't post on social media. Why they act the way they do, what it reveals about their psychology, how women perceive them, and why their silence often speaks louder than the noise everyone else makes online. 1. They're focused on real life, not digital validation. Here's something that most people won't admit. Social media has become the modern man's trap. It's a place where people pretend to be successful, confident, or happy, while in reality, many are just chasing validation. But when a man doesn't post on social media, it says something very different about him. It means his validation doesn't come from strangers, likes, or attention. It comes from what he's actually doing in real life. See, the man who doesn't post every meal, every outfit, or every gym session isn't hiding. He's building. He's focused on his own world, his goals, his work, his discipline. While others are uploading proof of what they're doing, he's quietly creating results that will speak for themselves. That's the kind of man who values substance over show. Imagine two types of men. One spends time carefully crafting posts, checking who viewed his story, and waiting for compliments in the comments. The other is too busy working, learning, or building something that will last. One is focused on looking like he's doing well, while the other is actually doing well. The difference is night and day, and people can feel it. Men who don't post often move with a level of confidence that doesn't need to be announced. They don't need approval because their self-worth isn't tied to what people think online. They understand something deeper. The more you show, the more people assume they know you, and that gives them power over your image. A man who stays low-key keeps that power to himself. And women? They notice that. Whether they admit it or not, women are drawn to mystery. A man who isn't constantly online feels unpredictable. He's harder to read, harder to access, and that naturally creates attraction. Because mystery in today's oversharing world is rare. So when a man doesn't post on social media, it's not because he's boring, hiding, or insecure. It's because he's not seeking attention. He's creating results. He's focused on the real world, where success is measured by effort, not engagement. That's the dark truth most people won't say. The men who win are often the ones too focused on real life to prove it online. 2. They understand the power of mystery. In today's world, mystery is a lost art. Everyone is oversharing what they eat, where they go, who they're with, and how they feel. It's constant noise. But the man who doesn't post on social media stands out because he's not part of that noise. He's the quiet presence that people notice without him even trying. And that's powerful. Mystery works because it creates curiosity. When people can't easily figure you out, they start thinking about you more. They start guessing, wondering, even assuming. And that attention is far more powerful than the kind you get from posting selfies or status updates. A man who is mysterious isn't just private, he's strategic. He knows that what people don't know about him gives him control. Think about it. When a man posts everything, people start to form an image of him, an identity they can label, judge, and predict. But when he keeps things off the internet, nobody can truly pin him down. That uncertainty builds intrigue. Women feel it. They're not sure who he's talking to, what he's doing, or what kind of life he's really living. And because the unknown is interesting, they become more drawn to him. Mystery also communicates confidence. It says, I don't need to prove anything. When a man doesn't broadcast his moves, it signals that he's secure in himself. He's not desperate for validation or attention. And in a world where everyone's chasing both, that's extremely attractive. But there's a deeper side to this too. Mystery protects your emotional and mental space. The less people know, the less they can interfere. You don't owe anyone explanations, and you don't have to perform for likes. When you operate this way, your peace becomes your priority, and that peace becomes your power. 3. They protect their energy from unnecessary attention. Men who don't post on social media often understand something most people overlook. Attention is energy. Every post, every comment, every reply drains a little bit of your focus. And in today's world, attention is one of the most valuable things you can have. The man who chooses to stay off social media knows that not everyone deserves access to his life, his thoughts, or his time. When you post regularly, you open the door for all kinds of energy to come your way, good, bad, and everything in between. People judge, gossip, criticize, compare, and even envy. Most of that energy doesn't serve you, yet it still affects you. You might not notice it, but it seeps into how you think, how you feel, and how you move. The man who doesn't post much avoids all that noise. He's not giving strangers or old friends a window into his life where they can project their opinions or jealousy onto him. This type of man values peace over popularity. He's selective about who gets to see his moves because he understands that unnecessary attention can bring unnecessary problems. When fewer people know what you're doing, you avoid outside interference. There's no one to question your motives, criticize your actions, or subtly compete with you. You move in silence and let your results speak for themselves. Another reason men like this protect their energy is that they've realized validation is addictive. Once you start chasing likes, comments, and views, you're no longer in control. You're performing. You begin to post what others want to see, not what you actually believe in or enjoy. But when you stay off that treadmill, your sense of worth comes from within. You validate yourself, and that's when your confidence becomes unshakable. Women notice this too. A man who doesn't post doesn't need to prove his lifestyle or his worth. That lack of neediness is incredibly attractive because it shows emotional discipline. He's not competing for attention. He's focused on his mission. 4. They value privacy over performance. One of the biggest differences between men who post everything online and those who stay off social media is motivation. Most men today feel pressure to perform, to show proof that they're living well, succeeding, or being admired. But men who don't post aren't caught up in that performance trap. They understand that privacy is power, and performance is often just distraction. Privacy gives a man freedom, the freedom to move how he wants, grow without noise, and build quietly without being watched. When no one knows your next move, there's no one to interfere, question, or judge it. You're not living under an audience's expectations. You're living for yourself. That's a rare thing in a world built on comparison. Performance, on the other hand, keeps men stuck in the cycle of needing to prove something. It becomes less about who they actually are and more about how they look to others. But the man who values privacy doesn't care about perception. He cares about results. He doesn't need applause to confirm his progress, and he doesn't use validation as fuel. His motivation comes from something deeper: purpose. This kind of mindset shows emotional maturity. It says, I don't need the world to see my every move to feel important. And that level of independence commands respect. Women notice it too. They can sense when a man isn't performing for attention. It makes him more grounded, more focused, and harder to manipulate emotionally. There's also a practical side to valuing privacy. When you stop performing online, you protect your relationships, your goals, and your peace from unnecessary exposure. You avoid the opinions, the envy, and the false sense of connection that social media often creates. You live life at your own pace without feeling like you have to keep up. A man who values privacy doesn't hide. He simply chooses peace over pressure. He doesn't need people to know what he's doing because he's secure in the fact that he's doing something. And that quiet confidence carries a different kind of strength. One that doesn't need to be broadcasted to be real. In a world obsessed with being seen, the men who choose not to perform become the ones worth watching. They're not trying to prove they're winning. They just are. 5. They build real life, not online. Image men who stay off social media understand something most people don't. Life isn't happening on your phone. It's happening in reality. While many are busy crafting a version of themselves that looks successful online, these men are busy becoming that person in real life. They know the difference between looking like they're doing well and actually doing well. And that difference is what separates them from the crowd. When a man doesn't post, it's not because he's hiding. It's because he's focused. He's not worried about how to make his life look good in photos. He's too busy making it feel good in real life. He's investing in his body, his money, his peace, and his goals, not in likes or followers. And when you live that way, your confidence becomes genuine. You don't need anyone to clap for you because you already know you're progressing. Picture this. While one man spends 20 minutes editing the perfect selfie, another man is spending that same time reading, planning, or working on his business. Over time, the difference becomes massive. One man builds an image, the other builds substance. One is chasing validation, the other is creating a legacy. That's what makes men who stay offline different. They're grounded in reality. They know social media rewards illusion, not truth. You can fake almost anything online: happiness, wealth, confidence. But you can't fake those things in real life. The man who understands this doesn't waste time trying to look like he has it together. He's too busy actually getting it together. Women can sense that authenticity too. A man who's focused on his real life rather than his online image gives off a kind of stability that's rare today. He's not chasing temporary attention. He's building something long-term. And that's the kind of energy women respect, even if they can't always explain why. At the core, these men understand that social media is a stage, and most people are just performing. But the ones who win are the ones who step away from the show, focus on reality, and make sure their real life is better than their digital life. 6. They move in silence and let results speak. There's something undeniably powerful about a man who moves in silence. He doesn't talk about his plans, he doesn't post his progress, and he doesn't seek validation from anyone. He simply takes action. And when the results start showing, people can't help but notice, even if he never said a word. That's the quiet strength of men who stay off social media. Moving in silence doesn't mean hiding your success. It means protecting it until it's real. When you share every detail too early, you invite opinions, jealousy, and distractions. You start thinking more about how others will react than about actually achieving the goal. But when you keep things private, you can focus. You're not influenced by noise, and you're not pressured to prove anything. You're just doing the work. Men who move in silence understand that power grows in private. Every time you talk about what you're doing, you release a bit of energy. You start feeling satisfied before you've even finished the job. That's why the quiet ones seem to come out of nowhere. They've been grinding while everyone else was talking. This kind of discipline also creates respect. When people can't predict your next move, they pay attention differently. You become harder to read, harder to judge, and harder to compete with. It's a kind of invisible dominance. Not loud, not arrogant, just calm confidence that speaks for itself. Women pick up on this energy instantly. A man who moves in silence has a mysterious calm about him. He's not bragging, not chasing, not seeking recognition. That self-assured energy makes him stand out in a world full of men who overshare to feel seen. The truth is, silence is a strategy. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to prove yourself, your results start to speak louder than anything you could post. People start noticing your growth naturally, not because you told them, but because they can feel it. That's what makes this type of man so magnetic. He's unpredictable, focused, and confident enough to let his actions do the talking. And when the results appear, they're undeniable. He doesn't need to say, "I'm doing well." His life already shows it. 7. They're redefining what real masculinity looks like. Here's the thing. In a world that glorifies attention, clout, and constant validation, the man who doesn't post is quietly redefining what masculinity really looks like. He's not loud. He's not trying to prove his worth through filtered pictures or motivational captions. He's simply being, and that alone challenges everything modern culture tries to convince men to be. Real masculinity isn't about performing strength. It's about embodying it. The men who stay off social media understand that power doesn't need to announce itself. They're not chasing approval, and they're not looking for validation from strangers. They don't need to post gym selfies to prove discipline, or quotes to prove wisdom, or luxury shots to prove success. Their actions already confirm all of that. These men lead with quiet authority. They show emotional control in a time when everyone overshares. They show restraint when others are desperate for recognition. That's real masculinity. Not the flex, not the noise, but the discipline, the focus, and the calm confidence that speaks louder than words ever could. But here's where the constructive reflection comes in. Too many men today have become addicted to being seen. They measure their worth by attention instead of impact. They care more about perception than progress. And the sad truth is that constant need for validation is what weakens them. The moment you need to be seen to feel valuable, you've already given your power away. So take this as a wake-up call. Being offline doesn't make you irrelevant. It makes you powerful. It means you're in control of your image, your energy, and your emotions. It means you're focusing on what actually matters: your mind, your money, your health, and your peace. Real masculinity today is about moving with intention, not impulse. It's about strength in silence and confidence without performance. And the men who live that way are slowly setting a new standard. One that doesn't depend on likes, followers, or digital applause. Because when a man no longer needs the world to validate him, that's when he becomes truly unstoppable. Here's the dark truth. The men who don't post on social media aren't hiding. They're evolving. While the world is busy performing, they're busy mastering themselves. They've chosen peace over performance, growth over gossip, and substance over image. And that quiet decision separates them from almost everyone else. It might sound controversial, but here's the reality. The less a man seeks to be seen, the more powerful he becomes. Why? Because he's not living for the crowd, he's living for himself. He's not chasing attention, he's building something real. That's the kind of energy that commands respect, not because it's loud, but because it's steady, grounded, and undeniable. These men are redefining what it means to be confident in the modern world. They're not competing online, they're creating offline. They're not trying to prove who they are. They already know. And when a man reaches that level of self-assurance, he becomes magnetic without even trying. So if you're watching this and you've been feeling pressure to show up online, to prove that you're doing well, that you're relevant, or that you're worth attention, stop. You don't need validation to be valuable. The most powerful men aren't posting, they're progressing. I want to hear your thoughts. Are you one of those men who keeps his life private? Or are you realizing you might need to pull back from social media to regain your peace and focus? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading and engaging with you. Because at the end of the day, social media doesn't define you. How you move in real life does. And the men who understand that truth, they're the ones quietly winning while everyone else is performing.